And good Monday evening, Pitt State football fans. Welcome to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek indeed with Coach Beck, live from Chatter's Restaurant and Bar, our home on Mondays. Pitt State 6-0, 5-0 in the MIAA. Long trip out to Hays, Kansas, about 3 time zones away, and back here getting ready for homecoming this week. 38-17, the win out there, and a game that going in, Coach, I think maybe as much as anything, you're worried about the focus because of the atmosphere and all of that, to come from behind win against Northwest, all the storylines that went along with that, and obviously the long road trip, and you don't have the support out there. But how do you feel, I guess, first of all, about looking back, the mental state of your team?
Well, I thought even though it wasn't the score that we wanted to have at halftime, we were hoping to have a little bit bigger score offensively, and hopefully be in a situation where we felt like we maybe had a little bit better control of things at halftime. But when you go back and look and kind of see how we played in the first half, I felt like our intensity and how hard we were playing was really good. We gave up a few big plays against Hays, a couple screen plays, and where we missed a couple of tackles. But other than that, after you look at the whole game and see that we only had, they only had 44 plays to our approximately 84, and the time of possession was way in our favor, and things just didn't quite go our way a couple times in the first half. But boy, our intensity was really good, our focus was really good, and we were playing extremely hard.
We talk about a long road trip and potential concerns that go with that. Up at Kirksville, you stayed down in Columbia. Talk about how you handled this trip and trying to break that up.
Well, we left, 10:30 Friday morning and drove to Wichita, ate in Wichita, and then drove to Hutchinson and practiced at Hutchinson. And, Hutchinson High and Hutchinson Junior College were, very hospitable and let us practice there. So we got practice in, which was good at Hutch, and then drove on and decided to stay in Great Bend because of the night game. I really didn't want to stay in Hays. I wanted to go somewhere, so we looked at Salina or Great Bend where we could maybe go somewhere and then have a little bit of a drive. And I'd like the opportunity when you have a night game to be able to eat pregame meal, then get on the bus, because I think your kids really kind of settle in and they really kind of focus on what their jobs and responsibilities are.
I talked to Nate Dreiling before the game. This was pretty funny here at Hutch, and he said a student trainer comes up to him, and they were playing Mays High that night. Mays is a red and white team. And he said, "Are you who we're playing tonight?" And they get off the bus, your guys. And Nate just let him take the bait, And so Then he goes over to Nate's dad, and the coach said, "Coach, I don't know. These guys are pretty big." He said, so he thought he was going to play you guys. And then Randy Dreiling, his dad, had to let him in on it. So, yeah, that's a good connection. We keep sending those good players from Hutch High, hopefully, as well.
You bet.
Go out there, and it starts raining. It's blowing. It's always blowing in Hays. Just a matter of which direction. You know that. You're from out there. But what's your mindset when you start getting into a game where the elements might be a factor?
Well, I was actually a little bit more concerned about the wind than I was the rain. We haven't been in really any windy games this year, and the rain, our players haven't played in it this year, but, people that handle the ball, and specifically your quarterback, you want to, feel good about what we do in the run game. That's going to be to our advantage, to be able to, primarily keep the ball on the ground and do some of the things that we do. And so the rain wasn't a huge concern, although, rain and water, it can be a very good equalizer at times. But I was just glad the wind wasn't blowing about 30 or 40 miles an hour with the rain.
Yeah, it started there, and it's blowing 15 or 20 out of the south. Then the rain starts, and then it kind of slows down, and wind died a little bit for it to pick back up. On top of that, you're out there. It's homecoming. You're over there. Their students and their band are there. What's it like on the visitor sideline out at Hays?
Well, we kind of talked to our kids about what to expect, and
Oktoberfest.
Actually, it wasn't real bad at all. I mean, they were hollering at us a little bit, but it was, for the most part, everything that I heard anyway was pretty respectful, and it had a nice crowd. You look back on the video and see at the beginning of the game that the east side there was pretty well packed, and so again, it ended up being a nice night for the most part compared to how it could have been. And then the other thing was, I thought it was really, really important for what we did offensively to come out and drive the ball against the wind and go score, and that's what we did.
You look at, you're from Ness City, and Alex Kuhlman, who's on your staff from there, player, and Nate's from Hutch, and Taylor Camp's from Saline. It was like a home game for Eric Love from Cozad, only 3 hours for them. What's it like to go back to Hayes, you think, for some of those guys from that part of the state?
Yeah, Neil Philpott
from Norton, yeah.
And Coach Collins from out west. So having a good group of people. And, you know, we talked about that in pregame, the fact that Coach Cullen recruits all of Kansas, and we've had a few good players from Western Kansas, and we're not going to play Hayes for 2 more years. So, you know, there's a lot of reasons you want to go win the game. First of all, for your football team, and it's just part of the schedule. And this next game, we need to go win it. But there are a lot of ramifications that go along with it, especially in recruiting. And so, you want to make sure you have that edge, and then you can talk about it when you recruit somebody and go against another team.
Yeah, they're all important. Certainly, in-state are as well. All right, time for our first break. When we come back, we will get into that first half. It was a good start for the Gorillas, and eventually a 21-point win. So that and more when we return to Chatters with Coach Tim Beck right after this. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek along with Pitt State head football coach Tim Beck. One of the 2 touchdown runs there on the night for Bryson Wilson. A big night for him as part of that dominating ground game. And so Pitt State part of a 38-17 win out at Hayes. The Tigers end up winning the toss, Coach, and so you obviously are going to take the football. And, boy, they make you go into that win. But being a ground team, you can neutralize that wind. So a 5-play, 78-yard drive, and it was just coming in chunks right there early.
Yeah, it really was. You know, got off to a good start and ran some inside zone, ran some power, and then Zach had a nice throw to John Thomas down the middle, which picked up a pretty good chunk of real estate, and then was able to get down inside, you know, right about the 20, I guess, and again ran another inside zone play and was very well blocked. And Bryston takes it right up the middle for a touchdown.
And I don't know how much of those on, you know, zones or traps. Aaron thought watching the game from the booth. Were you pulling the guard quite a bit in that game?
We pulled the guard on power through the front side, but didn't really ever run any traps. I mean, we do have a trap or two that we can run, but we haven't really ran much of it yet up to this point. But ran a lot of power where we pull the backside guard, and tight end locks on the defensive end with double team the 3 technique or double team the defensive tackle, and our double teams getting good movement, and that's always a successful play. If you can get movement on the 3 technique or movement on the down lineman, and a lot of times they'll work off to the backside linebacker. A lot of times the backside linebacker is the guy that makes the play on power. But we were getting good movement, very aggressive, and Bryston was running behind his pads very well.
Yeah, he was running hard. That first touchdown, that 20-yard run, he could have run as far as he needed. And that's where, you know, the old story was, I think Lou Holt said, how'd they go 80 yards? And he said, well, that's all I needed. And
that's all I needed.
That's how you get into those. With that, was Hayes, were they showing some 3- and 4-man front, jumping around?
Yeah, for the most part it was 4-man front. 4-man front, and you know, they made some nice plays. The defensive end, one time we ran zone read, and defensive end squeezed our tackle so hard that the tackle couldn't get to the linebacker, and then was able to come back off on Zach and make a tackle for a loss, about a 2-yard loss, which just haven't seen many people be able to do that. And he did a nice job of making a really nice read as far as coming down and forcing us to pull the ball and then making a play on the quarterback. And that just doesn't happen very often.
Well, you get the touchdown. The extra point is good. In those conditions with the rain, do you worry more about, boy, just an extra point snap or a hold is not a routine play anymore?
Yeah, you can't take anything for granted, you know, and that's why you kind of, you know, sigh of relief after you make those, because those can be a difference in a game like that, especially when you don't want to give them any kind of encouragement, and that can sometimes. So, yeah, you know, making those extra points are not gimmies, and you still got to operate, you got to protect, and have, you know, good operation time and good hold and good kick.
Yeah, it's you can end up chasing that point too, as we've seen. Unfortunately, sometimes, well, you get that score, then Hayes goes 3 and out, and you're moving the ball right back down the field before you turn it over on down. So, but before that, I mean, to get a 3 and out, get it back, have a couple of first downs. You know, if you could script a start, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it would have been really nice if we could have went right back down and scored again, but we went ahead and turned it over on down. It's really considered punting in that situation, but I felt like we had a good call on about 4th and 6 or 7, and Zach rolls to his left, I believe, and had John Thomas on the out, just overthrew him just a little bit. And part of it, again, is, you know, maybe a little bit of a slick ball came out of his hand a little wild, but if we could have went down and scored after getting 3 and out on defense and go down and get on them, then, like we've talked about before, some of those things early on really changes the complexion of the game.
Well, Hayes would take advantage of the momentum. They have a 60-yard scoring drive. They're helped by a personal foul penalty. They end up scoring on a 6-yard run by their running back, Andre Smith. You end up having 3 personal fouls on the night, and they're not, I didn't think, terribly blatant. You get one called against them where Zach gets hit out of bounds, but not terribly blatant. What was your interpretation of those?
I went back and watched those again today because we have to send a report into the officials every week, and so I went back to watch them again. And, the first one on Jason Pete, he's in a situation where he makes contact, and then his momentum throws him around him, and so as he's swinging around, he ends up slinging the guy down.
Yeah.
And it looked a lot worse than it really was. And then, the second one on him is he's got to hit the guy because the guy's not out of bounds yet. It just so happens that he hits him and then knocks him quite a ways out of bounds. And so those are tough. And if it happens against you, you would like to get the call.
Right.
If it happens, or happens for you, you want the call. But if it happens against you, you don't like those. But and then Paul, Paul, there's 2 guys shoving each other, and Paul got the last shove in, and that's the guy that's always going to get flagged. So
yeah, you talk about some things that are universal in football. That's definitely one of them. They're always going to catch that retaliation. So how's your relationship with those officials? There's some guys you see and you say, "Oh, I don't want to have that."
Well,
no, don't say anything get you in trouble.
No, it's our Phil Laurie is the supervisor of all
right.
the officials, and so we send a report into him each week, and he's really very proactive in getting those guys better. I mean, they do camps and clinics, and they really work hard at it in the spring, and so we get to know some of those guys a little bit because they come and do a lot of our scrimmages
right.
and stuff, and so it's one of those things. It's frustrating as a coach. Andrew Castaneda's play where we thought we had a touchdown. That's frustrating. You're very frustrated because you feel like you've got points, and then all of a sudden the points are taken away. But even after watching the video, it's still really hard to tell on that play and whether or not he was in the end zone, or maybe he was even out on the 1-yard line, or it could have been that the ball was punched out and went back out of the end zone. It was a touchback too.
Yeah, a little later in the half, that was the case there. So Hayes would go down and score. You get the ball back, your own 34. You come right back, an 11-play, 66-yard drive, 4 first downs, 6.5 minutes off the clock. And, after that, actually the touchdown there, it's 3 seconds into the second quarter. So, you've had the ball twice and that wind is gone. And or for them, they had it twice and the wind is gone at their back. So time-consuming drive. That touchdown we saw came on a 4th and 1 that we just heard. And looked like that end of the line just collapsed. What did you see on that play?
Yeah, it was another, you could call it a power play, but, the bottom line is they had a defensive end that was playing very heavy as a C in the C gap, and so when we handed it to Bryston, there was just nobody outside. They really collapsed everybody inside, and he was just able to take it to the edge and basically walk in.
Well, you go down and get that early in the second quarter. Hayes comes back, and they get a field goal. You would end up answering. So after the good start, you're probably feeling like you left some points out there when you don't convert on 4th down, but now you're settling into a game that how concerned, maybe the biggest thing is that you're at their place and you're not getting the stops you want.
Yeah, you're not getting the stops you want, and the momentum. You're worried about the momentum and how it's going to shift and change, and then you're worried about, okay, what if we turn the ball over in our side of the field, and so there's several things. You don't want to get into the going back and forth type thing, and so again, I felt like defensively, after you go back and look, it didn't feel this way during the game. It felt like they had 400 yards of offense.
Yeah.
But when you go back and look, they're just really 2 drives that they had some pretty good chunks in and were able to go score. And other than that, there was a couple of drives where they had negative yardage at the end of the series. So, for the most part, we missed a couple tackles here and there, and other than those two big drives, we played pretty good on defense.
Yeah, their running back, Andre Smith, led the league in rushing going in at 111 per game. Not big numbers, and he's kind of a guy that's, I guess, combination. He's 185. He's not a burner, but he's fast enough. But at the end of the night, he has 55 yards. So your run defense, I think you felt pretty well.
They really did play well, and we had to gang tackling. We missed a couple of tackles on him, but you see him when he gets out in the open. He can do some things, and they get their offensive line shored up a little bit and have a little bit better depth there and bigger aggressive guys create some holes for him, he can really cause some problems.
Well, you have another scoring drive after they get the field goal and make it 14-7. You go down and or they get within 14-10, and then your field goal, another beautiful drive, 14 plays, 49 yards. You found yourself in some fourth downs on the night, and I know conversions haven't been great for you. They're getting better, but I guess the good news, a lot of them were about 1 yard, and the way you were running the ball, I thought made it a pretty easy call.
Yeah, it did, and we ended up not punting on the night, and had some really good fourth down conversions. And sometimes I think as a coaching staff, we talked about this last week. Sometimes we haven't been as good on fourth downs, and sometimes you feel like you need to try to do something a little bit different because they're really going to pack everybody in there, and you want to make sure that you got every single thing covered. And well, what if they blitz off the edge, or what if they bring the linebackers, or what if they do this and that? So you spend a lot of time, trying to put together what's best for us. Or sometimes you just need to run your offense. Sometimes you need to go ahead and spread them out, turn around and hand it to the back and let him ram it in there for a yard or whatever the case may be. But our coaches spend a lot of time on third down conversions and fourth and shorts, trying to make sure we have everything covered. But we did a nice job of calling some nice things, and then again Bryson ran behind his pads pretty well, which helped.
Well, it was a good night conversion-wise, and it would be 17-10 after the field goal by McCoy inside of 4 minutes. Hayes would punt, and Pitt State would kneel it out for a 17-10 ball game. Let's go ahead and take another break. When we come back, we'll talk about halftime. We'll have our Vital Signs trivia contest and giveaway here from Chatters. That and more when we return on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek back on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric, along with Pitt State head football coach Tim Beck. Out of this break on the show each week, we give you the Vital Signs Trivia Contest for the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club texting service. This is not a deal you call in, anything like that, but rather sent out via the text to those members of the texting service. And you can vote and player the game voting all year long, football and basketball, and you get this trivia contest Mondays during the school year. And tonight's question, the Pitt State team controlled the ball for nearly 41 minutes in the win over Hayes Saturday. That's the most possession for the Gorillas in a game since when? A regulation game. Was it Northwest in 2010, Fort Hays State in 06, or the 05 playoffs at West Texas A&M? And, again, you can get that question and others sent to you if you are a member of the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club. To join, text the word Gorilla Fan, all one word, to 66937. You'll get a confirmation text in return, multiple choice ballot sent to you, and if there's more than one correct person with the answer, we'll have a way to sort that out through a computer, and then we'll let you know the winner later on once we are informed. We also have been doing some giveaways here at Chatters, courtesy of Chatters and Fat Daddy's all season long, and we'll give away a gift certificate here. Free breakfast at Fat Daddy's, dine-in only, includes drinks, and Henry Lee Busick, come on down. Have until that is a lucky table all year long. Have until the end of the calendar year to use that, Henry. So you can save all those up. I think you could just save up and take them all down there and eat out every day the last week of the year and be set down at Fat Daddy's. Appreciate Ahmad and his staff for making us at home here and also down at Fat Daddy's. Coach, 17-10 at halftime as you take a knee there to go to the locker room, and I thought clearly winning the battle up front on both sides of the ball and probably felt like you left some points out there. What was your number one mindset at half?
Well, we just talked to our guys about, they were a little bit frustrated, I guess, because, again, it was only 17-10 at half and felt like, we would hopefully have a little bit bigger margin at that point. But, we just talked about, hey, we're doing some things. We haven't had a couple things go against us. It's very important that we don't have any more personal fouls. And so clean those type of things up. We did. We played good football in the second half and did not, have any other penalties other than an offsetting penalty on a kickoff. But go out, let's play hard. It's important for our defense to go out and have a good start and get the ball back for us. And so offensively, take care of the ball, don't turn the ball over. Play good guerrilla football and we'll be fine, and just settle down and get after it. And we did a really good job of, putting some things together again in the second half, and our coaches do a really good job of making a few adjustments. You don't need to make any major adjustments most of the time. It's just got to be a few subtle changes on a blocking scheme here or there and a couple things like that, and then you're good to go.
Well, Hayes gets the ball to begin the second half. 10 plays, 67 yards, a scramble by their quarterback, 17 all. What's your mindset after that?
Well,
just got to stay with it, though.
Then once you're at 17 all, and that's exactly what we said too. I said, well, what's going to happen if they go out and find a way to score and they tie the game? And we talked about that a little bit. How are you going to handle that? What are you going to do? And offenses are like, we're going to go score. And so, it was really big after that for our offense to be able to drive the ball down the next two series, I believe, and go get points. And that's what they did. That
quarterback, Anthony Shepard, had played a little bit. Their starter, Blake McCarron, didn't play. He went through warm-ups. I don't know if he was injured or disciplinary or whatever. This guy comes in there, and it looks like they're a little limited with him. He's not real refined. He's quick to pull it down and take off, but slippery athletic type. What's it like dealing with a guy like that who has the ball in his hands?
Well, I tell you what, he was very athletic, and he could make you miss. We brought pressure off the edge a couple of times, and he was able to kind of skinny through it and work out the backside. And he did a nice job. He really did a nice job, and didn't throw the ball great, but threw the ball just good enough to scare you, because if you brought pressure and you had to play man coverage, he could get it there. And so, he had a nice game and did a nice job for him.
Well, and then you come right back, as you mentioned, go down and score a 9-play, 56-yard drive, good field position after the kick return.
Webb started a contract switching.
And then you get the touchdown run. We just heard that from Eric Love. I talked to him before the game, and he said, yeah, it was like a home game. Cozad, Nebraska is only 3 hours from Hayes. It's 8.5 hours from Pittsburgh or whatever. How nice is that to see him rewarded? Because I know he does some thankless work.
Yes, he does. He really does. And Eric, didn't get to play near as much as he had hoped to last year, and he's really done a really nice job for us. He makes a lot of nice blocks every game, was able to get a touchdown, and then the other thing, he had a really nice run where we had him on the edge and we didn't block it right, and we had a couple people standing out there waiting for him, and he's got very loose hips. He kind of can make you miss out in the open field, and that's exactly what he did. And then gets down the sideline, and their free safety number one is a very aggressive player, and Eric gets him squared up and kind of trucks him a little bit, and it was a nice physical run. He had to make somebody miss initially, and then he was very physical to finish the run at the end.
Yeah, consecutive 2,000-yard seasons in high school at Cozad, which kind of, it sounds like about Kansas 3A, but you don't get that without knowing some things and how to carry the ball. And here's a fifth-year senior. What kind of maturity level does it take to accept the role he has?
Yeah, it really does, and it takes a lot of maturity. And, he's a young man. He's a construction engineering major. He has not been able to stay in Pittsburgh the last 2 summers because he's had internships because of the construction. He's probably already got a job or 2 offered to him right now, and he'll be done probably here at semester. And so he is a mature young man. Got married this last summer, and boy, he's been done a very, very good job for us, and we're really proud of him.
Well, it was good to see him get in the end zone, his first touchdown of the year. That's at 6:12 of the third. You're right back on top, and then the fun really begins. 2 plays later, Hayes at their own 31. Second play, a fumble. Looked like, was it John White came through the line? You had a couple guys getting in there pretty quick on that D-line.
Yeah, and part of it was I don't think they had a good exchange, but that's Paul Robinson was the one that recovered, I believe.
Yeah, I think John caused it
maybe John caused it, and then Paul was bringing pressure, and boy, he pounced on it. He got on it really, really quick.
And John White, nice big physical guy that's bounced around from KU to NEO to Louisiana Tech and those things. Second year, do you see a difference in him this year compared to last year?
Yeah, John's had some moments early on where he maybe wasn't playing quite as fast as we knew he could, and so our defensive line coaches have done a good job, and John, when he gets going and he gets fired up, he did a year ago at Hayes as well, and he gets going and he's very hard to handle because he's really quick. If somebody tries to down block him, he'll feel it and fight across somebody's face in a hurry. And so he can be very disruptive in the inside. He's a nice addition to our team.
And you mentioned Paul Robinson coming on a stun, and you look at those strong safeties, him or Brian Sanchez or Chaz or Jake Catloth, whoever's in there, Naeem Forrester even, with your linebacker play and your alignment, how effective has that been, do you feel, dialing up that strong safety pressure?
Well, it's with that defense and that four-man front defense where you're playing two inside linebackers, those are the two guys where, we've done it for years and years and years. We've called it double smoke, where they come off the edge and they're supposed to stay as deep as the deepest. You've got times where you want them to go straight to the quarterback. You got times when you want them to come flat off the edge. You got, a line stunt where we send the ends up the field and bring them underneath. So there's a lot of things you can do with them, and they're versatile people, versatile players, because they also have to be able to play in man coverage, but they're also aggressive enough that you don't mind sending them right into the middle of everything. And those type guys can go put pressure on it because they're very quick, and they can go get pressure on the quarterback pretty quick if they don't get picked up by an offensive lineman.
Well, you always want to score after a sudden change like that and have one side of the ball complement the other. But when you get it at their 34, 2 plays after you have a touchdown drive, we'll talk about the play in a minute, but how important is it to turn that into points?
Yeah, I thought it was extremely important. Again, offense really answered the call at that point, and so it was one of those things where those 2 drives in the third quarter that really set the tone for the rest of the game.
And then the touchdown when you get down there, Dickey to Kelly, 4-yard pass. I'd asked you a couple of weeks ago just visiting about tight ends. Briston has 1 catch for 15 yards on the year. You've been very good over the years at sneaking your tight end in and out of places, and it's still a part of the offense. And that ball just seemed to hang there forever. He goes to the ground to catch it, but, that play, 3rd and goal, the running game obviously made it a pretty effective call.
Yeah, it really did. The way they were lined to, we'd practiced it a couple times during the week where we had a free safety in the middle, and they didn't have a safety in the middle of the field at the time, so it made it even easier. But, the action, again, you see it happen on every Saturday and Sunday in college and NFL football. People have a hard time covering the tight ends on the goal line. Briston being 6'7", he's a nice big target. He does have good hands. It's just something that, we also did the same thing at Northwest, a little bit different, but we had John Brown in the backfield and then motioned him out, put him in the flat, but we had the option to throw to John Brown or Briston, and they were both open. So if you can run the ball effectively and, really be able to pound it in there and you have good play action, it's tough to cover a back out in the flat or a tight end down in the red zone.
Well, good time for his 2nd catch of the year. You mentioned, 6'7", big body, former basketball player at Northern Illinois. His 3rd year with you, how's he progressed for you?
Well, Briston, again, he's able to do a lot of things because he's just so big. And so when he can get on a defensive end, when he can get locked on, then he's in pretty good shape. There are times where his length works against him a little bit. Sometimes when you're on the backside and you have to scoop somebody that's a little bit taller because he's that tall and long, it's hard to get down on all fours and do some of the things. He's having a much better year, I believe, right now than he did a year ago.
And we've had some great players here over the years, tight ends. We could sit here all night and talk about those guys. But, with him and his experience, you bring in Connor Combs as a transfer, Brady Letchworth, and some guys you have that have been in the program for a couple of years. And then Mandel Dixon's a true freshman. You're lining up in the backfield. How do you feel about the potential for that group as a whole?
Well, Brady Letchworth's young. He's a redshirt freshman, and Mandel Dixon's a true freshman. And the other one that played the other night some and did an okay job too was Chance Riley, and he's a program player that has just worked his way and finally getting an opportunity to do what he can do. So, that group of guys, obviously we'll miss Briston when he graduates, but we'll have all the rest of them back, and so that's a group that we definitely want to improve. We want them to get better, but it's really an important part of our offense. Yeah,
Chance Riley, the squad member, now a junior out of Collinsville, Oklahoma. All right, we need to take another break with Coach Beck. When we come back, we'll talk about getting set for the 4th quarter in that win at Hayes. That and more when we return to Chatters after this. Welcome back to the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric. Eddie Lomshek along with Coach Beck live at Chatters. That was a great play the other night that kind of drove the spike in that win, and we'll talk about it here in just a little bit. Earlier we asked you our Gorilla Nation's Mobile Fan Club Trivia Contest, and almost 41 minutes time of possession for the win over Fort Hays, in the win over Fort Hays Saturday. When was the last time or they had more than that in a regulation game? The options were Northwest last year, Hayes in 06, or West Texas in the playoffs in 05, and the answer was C, West Texas A&M in the 2005 playoffs. That was a ball game in which Pitt State went up a team that had, allegedly about 7 NFL prospects, and Pitt State went down there and played a little keep away. 43 minutes, 36 seconds, and Buffaloes can't score when they don't have the ball. They turned it over a little bit, and Pittsburgh State rolled on that day. One of my favorite all-time games, Pitt State history, 41-3. Jamie Sucraw, the Reverend of Pittsburgh, knew that. He'll get a pair of tickets to the homecoming game against Lincoln this Saturday. So thanks for playing, and be sure and check it out, the Gorilla Nation Mobile Fan Club. What do you remember about that game at West Texas? The option was pretty good that day, huh?
Yeah, it was really good. Andy Majors had a really nice game that day, and
got him all beat up though.
And I also remember the Buffalo got loose right before the game. The little Buffalo,
his little miniature guy,
but he got loose and kind of spun around a couple of those Cowboys, and so that was pretty entertaining. But yeah, it wasn't a good day for West Texas that day. It was a fun game to be part of.
Can't score if they don't have the ball. Draw another winner there, Coach. We have another certificate for a free breakfast at Fat Daddy's. Dine-in only, includes drink, expires the end of the calendar year. And Audrey Dickey, come on down. You just keep sending those quarterbacks to us. We'll keep giving you free breakfast. That's for sure. So good bloodlines there. Yeah, we'll have one more drawing after our final break. Coach, you're up after the score, 31-17. The pass to Briston Kelly. We heard the pick six coming out of the break. So, Hayes goes from a 17 all game in about 6 minutes down 38-17, and 2 plays, they fumble it, you're on it, you score. 3 plays later, Paul Robinson, the pick six, so a big night for him. And I'm not sure their quarterback ever saw him the way he threw that pass, but what did you guys see on film there?
Yeah, Paul was kind of in between, and the quarterback had sprinted out, and so Paul was kind of in between where he didn't know whether to go ahead and stay dropped or come forward. And you're right, I'm not sure he saw him and was able to come under, drop by, or basically, had our players, Dreiling especially, gives him a bad time because he didn't have very good hands. But Paul made a nice pick, caught the ball completely away from his body, pulls it in, and then heads to the opposite side of the field. And then you see Naeem Forster accelerate and come and get in front of him. And when you get that interception like that, that's what you want to do. You want to go take it to the house and go score. You don't want to leave it out there if at all possible. And so our guys quickly turn from defense to offense, and it's nice to see him get in the end zone.
You guys, on that pick, it's a long run across the field. Is that something you teach, to look for the field side as opposed to going back up the sideline where the boundaries are?
Normally you like to stay to the closer side, but it just depends on where it's at and what's happened. And of course, them sprinting out that way, then they start drifting that way. You really never know. But you could see a big open area for him, and so that was a good decision by him.
And their quarterback rolling left, it's to their sideline. But as a guy that's coached them all these years, what are some things you tell your quarterbacks when they're rolling to their opposite hand, and how important with the shoulders and all that?
Well, first thing, and Fort Hays kind of, adopted some of the things that we did on the sprint out game. They blocked it the same way and turned the O-line back and brought the 2 backs front side like we do. And it's tough to not allow the quarterback to get to the edge when you do that. But the big thing is, first of all, is if you got a support player that's dropped, then normally it's a run pass option, unless it's a 3rd and 10 or something. Quarterback just needs to run it in that situation. And so that's the first thing that we look at. And we do a lot of sprint out, and sometimes it looks a little bit different because if you've got 2 backs in the backfield compared to 1, it really changes how it looks. But we've had a lot of success with sprint out over the years. Yeah,
that run pass option's a good wrinkle too. So Robinson gets the pick six, 38-17 with less than 30 seconds in the 3rd quarter. And then on top of that, you end up getting a 3 and out next possession. So they go 2 and a fumble, 3 and a pick six, 3 and out. Your defense really playing well. It was a matter of more pressure up front. Not that the numbers were bad in the first half, but pretty dominant second half. What did you see from your defensive front there?
Well, defensive front played well. J.R. Jones had a really good game and played hard. And we had a couple tackles for loss there in the third and fourth quarters. But again, I think we just kind of turned the pressure up a little bit. And your defense, they kind of get the feeling it, and then Coach Weimers and those guys, they really get the feeling it and want to put more pressure on and forcing them into some tough things. And so it was a nice job. And that you're exactly right. That series of them getting a pick six, and then turn around and get a 3 and out. Boy, that really put things in our favor.
Basically, start the 4th quarter. You have the ball on your own 25. You have a 10-play drive. You end up throwing a pick there, but how important at least to establish the field position in 4.5 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, again, taking a lot of time, nice long drive. Just unfortunate we threw a little interception there, but again, controlled the ball all the way down the field.
What did you see on the interception?
Well, it was an under route where the inside receiver goes vertical and the outside receiver comes back underneath at about usually 10 to 12 yards, and we drag the wide tight end, drag him underneath the linebackers. And the linebackers normally will step forward and outside when they see that tight end go across their face. And this linebacker dropped immediately, kind of dropped right underneath the under route. Zach didn't, his only choice was to throw the tight end right now or wait a little bit longer for John to clear pass. And sometimes you don't have that amount of time, so that's what happened. Well,
nothing came of it. Hayes had 1 first down. They have to punt it back, and then you get the ball on your own 19. You run the final 7:36 off the clock, a 14-play drive. There was maybe a 4th down conversion there, a couple of 3rd down conversions. So, 3rd and 8's one thing, 3rd and 1 or 2 is another. On that drive, you get Jeff Siebold in the game to spell Bryston, but we talked on postgame, 35 carries for Bryston. He really delivered 189 and 2 touchdowns. You lost Watkins. Maybe Spradling's not ready. So it's a night, but, given his physical dimensions, he can carry that load for you.
Yeah, he really can. And, I think it's, it wasn't 85 degrees out, and it was, nice and cool. And, you could feel the offensive line getting movement, so he was able to get going pretty good. And the combination of us getting movement up front and him getting his shoulder pads north and south and being aggressive with it, it made for a nice combination with those two.
And Bryston, I don't know if maybe a year ago he did that. How much has he worked in his time here to become a better conditioned back?
Well, there's no question he's in much better shape than he was a year ago, and being able to carry it 35 times, there was no doubt in my mind he was ready. He could have carried it 5-10 more times, no problem. And it's just a situation where the last drive, where once we get it out to midfield and kind of felt more comfortable, really didn't want to punt, from our own 35 or anything like that. So once we kind of got it out there and got going, we felt like it's time to get Jeff out there and get him some reps. And the times that he's come in, he's done really well.
82 plays to 44 for Fort Hays, 31 first downs. How nice are those numbers?
Yeah, 31 first downs is that's pretty awesome. And again, did a much better job on 3rd down conversions and converted more 4th downs than we have. And when you do those, when you convert those 4th downs, that's when you start really grinding out the clock and really gaining some possession time.
13 of 19 combined 3rd and 4th downs. And you sit there and you talk about running the ball that well. At the end of the night, Zach's 10 of 15 for 159. Had a big pass play to Castaneda that gets taken away with a turnover, but 159 on 10 completions. How'd you feel with your passing game?
Yeah, I thought, the first ball we threw to John Thomas down the middle, I mean, he was, right on with that, and they've got a good thing going, Zach to John Thomas. We've got some different things on the edge where we run a curl route or a vertical route, and we've got some inside seam routes that we run, and Zach throws those inside seam routes really well. And so, had a very accurate night.
Chris Brown's our head coach. Dion Manili's their D coordinator. Are you seeing things they're doing that you think they experienced at Pitt State?
Oh, yeah, there's no question. Defensively, Chris is where his main focus is. And, there's just a few wrinkles you see them make because they know what we're going to do. And we like to run the zone option with Zach because he's so fast and gets to the edge so quick. And so it's the first time all year they took their defensive end and quit playing him as a head up and kind of outside shade the tight end because that kind of helps take that away. And so it's just interesting, kind of somewhat of a chess match, going into the game. There's a couple things that we had called that we thought would be big plays that we weren't able to call because of an adjustment they maybe made with their safety. And so, it's when you know somebody as well as we know each other, there's going to be things like that you have to be able to adjust. And that's a big reason why we package a lot of plays. We go to the line, and then it could be this or this, depending on the defensive alignment.
One other thing about a guy that we know well, Craig Schurig becomes the all-time leader in Washburn coaching victories with their win. He's in his 10th year there. What's it like to see him go and build the program they have?
Well, Craig's a great guy and, coached with us here for a long time, and he's done a really good job of building that program up. And they're undefeated, and we'll see them here in a few weeks. But they've got a really nice club, and seen them on video a few times, and they're not doing anything major, any different from what they did last year. They're just very solid and very sound.
Yeah, there's some big games looming in the next couple of weeks, certainly within the conference. We need to take one final break. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to homecoming with Lincoln in town Saturday. That and more when we come back with Coach Beck right after this. Eddie Lomshek back on the Coach Tim Beck Show, presented by CDL Electric, live at Chatters here for about 3.5 more minutes. Coach, homecoming this week, Lincoln in, and first of all being homecoming, obviously the community's involved. You have a lot of stuff going on. You want your kids to be a part of that, and yet you guard against distractions. So from a football perspective, what's homecoming week like?
Well, it's a huge week for Pittsburg State, and one thing we tell our players every year is, this is sometimes the only game that a lot of people will come back for if they come back for one game a year, and so there's we still have an opportunity to make a good first impression on some people. So, it's a huge deal, huge tradition for us, and you're right. You want to keep everybody focused and make sure there's no distractions. But, it's not too much what we do. We'll go to convocation and go to Yell Like Hell and be a part of those things. And we want our guys to appreciate all of our fan support that we have. And so we want them to be a part of that. And then we're honoring our 61 team again this weekend. So that'll be a neat thing. And there'll be a lot of those guys back. So it'll be a great weekend.
Well, we'll look forward to that, to all those activities throughout the week. You look at the game itself, Lincoln, obviously a struggle, their first year back in the league, especially on defense. And what's your take on the Blue Tigers right now?
Well, Lincoln's got some really good athletes at certain positions. They've got the leading receiver in the conference right now with the receptions. They've got an undersized defensive end that is second in the conference in tackles for loss. They get to the ball really well at times. They're just not playing really good team offense and team defense. They've got some individuals that are very skilled. They've returned a couple of kickoffs back for touchdowns. They returned a kickoff back against Northwest for a touchdown. And so, athletically, they can be scary. But as a team, they're just not playing real well as a team right now. But it's like anything else. We've got to prepare just like we do every week. Our kids are buying into the one game at a time and one practice at a time and one play at a time. So we've got to continue the things that we're doing that's got us to the point where we're at.
It's a pretty classic case to me of kind of a David and Goliath. In these games, how important is the first quarter?
Oh, it's one of those things where you'd really like to jump on them and get after it right from the get-go, and that just would make it so much easier and allow you to, maybe possibly play some other players that haven't played as much, and that's what you'd like to do, but you just don't ever know how the game's going to go. And, you end up having a turnover here or there and give them, encourage them, you just never know. So you've got to have a great week of practice every week and try to improve at all positions on what we're doing. And we've got plenty of things we can improve on, and our kids understand that.
Draw one more winner there. We have a $25 gift certificate right here to Chatters and the House of Wings, and it's going to Jim Tarter. Come on down, get your prize. Big thanks to Ahmad and his staff for that. That will do it for this week's version of the Coach Tim Beck Show. Kickoff Saturday, 2 o'clock. Our pregame coverage will begin at 1. For Cam Koenig back in studio and for Coach Beck, I'm Eddie Lomshek. Thanks for listening, and enjoy your Monday night.